Good evening.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Sitting in tonight, Sam Donaldson.
Good evening. The shadow of the Budget Acts fell on Medicare today, that essential but costly government program of health care aid to the elderly. Only the shadow, since President-elect Bush has yet to announce publicly his deficit reduction plan. But that was enough to cause alarm among Medicare's staunchest defenders. The Washington Post quoted Bush advisors as predicting the new administration will back cuts of up to $5 billion in Medicare funding in the next fiscal year, a prediction that Bush himself would neither confirm nor deny. More on the story from Mike Von Frem.
While shopping in Kennebunkport, the president-elect told reporters that he has not made final decisions on the budget. He was asked about the newspaper report that he plans to cut billions of dollars from Medicare.
Reading in the paper a lot of things that I'm supposed to be doing I don't know anything about. Don't make judgments based on stories that really don't have any authority behind them.
But Mr. Bush did not deny the report, which claims he plans to cut up to $5 billion from Medicare. He reportedly would freeze or reduce payments the government makes to hospitals for equipment and personnel, hold the increase in payments to doctors below the level of inflation, and cut payments for some doctors' services that are considered overpriced or unnecessary. The American Association of Retired People says cutting payments to hospitals and doctors will ultimately hurt some of the 33 million Medicare beneficiaries.
They would hurt most those people who are the oldest and the sickest, as well as the poorest in the older population.
But Mr. Bush says he wants to improve the Medicare program.
We're going to make it more efficient.
The president-elect fielded questions on the budget as he visited his favorite spots: a wine and cheese shop, the hardware store, a decorating shop, and a movie rental outlet where he picked up a copy of broadcast news. And if he watches it tonight, it will look pretty tame compared to the chaos of news coverage today. Mike Von Frem, ABC News, Kennebunkport.
George Bush and his media-watched buying spree may be single-handedly gladdening the hearts of the Kennebunkport merchants today, but let's face it, he's only one man when it comes to the throngs necessary for the nation's retailers to ring up record Christmas sales this year. And although it's early, there are signs that retailers are a little nervous about this season's prospects. Here's Ken Pruitt.
For retailers, the day after Thanksgiving is like opening night on Broadway. It kicks off the biggest season of the year.
Today should be the most terrific day of the season. We think 55 or 60,000 people. We are positive that by 7 or 8 o'clock tonight, as we begin to relax, we'll be smiling.
The fourth quarter is the most critical time of the year for many retailers. It's up to 50% or more of their total year's earnings.
And for shoppers, it's also a big day.
This is our annual Christmas tradition. We get in the spirit doing this every year.
I'm lost. I'm just looking for an idea.
This year, there's no one hot item that everybody has to have. No Cabbage Patch Kids for the Christmas of '88. But there are some small trends here and there.
I think the trend is animation. People want to see things that are really in motion.
But even though the shopper stampede started right on schedule this morning, the really hard shopping comes later, when the customers start looking for markdowns and the retailers try to hold back. This year, retailers tried not to overbuy.
If you know what you want for sure, you'd better get it fairly early and risk paying a fairly hefty markup.
As Christmas Day gets closer and closer, shoppers and merchants go eyeball to eyeball over markdowns. Usually, it's the merchant who blinks. Ken Pruitt, ABC News, New York.
The OPEC oil cartel blinked a lot this week as it worked to find a way to shore up world oil prices, but it may finally have agreed on a plan. The deal only awaits official Iranian approval. Yet Hillary Bowker reports that the deal may not accomplish everything OPEC hopes or consumers fear.
News of the deal to limit OPEC production boosted crude oil prices on trading floors around the world today. Last week, oil was trading at $9.80 a barrel. Today, it was up to $12.40. OPEC wants the price to jump to $18. That would push up gasoline prices 6 to 8 cents a gallon. But analysts say that's unlikely because OPEC would still be producing more oil than the world is buying.
The biggest difficulty for OPEC is that the demand for OPEC oil is about 17.5 million barrels a day. And here they have an agreement to produce 18.5. Now, you don't have to be a very clever economist to say that if there's more supply than demand, the price isn't going to go through the roof.
So I guess the consumer's safe and that gas prices are going to stay pretty much as they are.
Analysts say what price increase there is won't last. They don't believe OPEC can make this latest deal work.
The whole of OPEC has been cheating on each other for so long now that they're not going to stop just on this agreement.
There is no guarantee that OPEC members will live by the new rules and stick to production quotas. Hilary Bowker, ABC News, London.
On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell about 17.5 points in very light trading. But for the week, the industrial average was up more than 12 points. In a moment, the Soviets trying to come to grips with rising ethnic violence. And later in the broadcast, on the American agenda, a look at infertility and the controversy over regulating its treatment. And we'll have our Person of the Week.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Post Oat Flakes.
Feel your oats. Post Oats Oats. Feel your oats.
Post Oats Oats.
With new Post Oat Flakes. Zero cholesterol. Whole grain oats with oat brand nutrition. And delicious with a taste of golden toasted whole grain oats. No one packs nutrition and taste into an oat flake like Post. Feel your oats.
Post Oats Oats.
With new Post Oat Flakes.
In test after test, Scotch brand Magic Tape is as easy to dispense as it is to use. Scotch brand Magic Tape. Stick with the one you know.
Ex-Lax presents a gentle guarantee. A guarantee that Ex-Lax works gently by 8 a.m. when taken at bedtime or your money back. A promise you can count on. Ex-Lax, guaranteed complete relief by 8 a.m.
Soviet authorities have imposed a dusk-to-dawn curfew on 3 towns in the southern Republic of Azerbaijan, as well as in the capital city of neighboring Armenia. 4 straight days of ethnic violence between Armenians and Azerbaijanis have now left several people dead. The dispute centers on rival claims to control a disputed area between the 2 republics. Jerry King reports from Moscow.
These pictures, said to have been shot today, are the first shown on Soviet television since this latest round of disturbances began 1 week ago. There was no reticence about showing the Soviet military presence. The idea was the military had brought a surface calm to Azerbaijan, although the commentator said these large crowds showed that the situation was not normal. There were also these first pictures of quiet in neighboring Armenia, though again the commentator described the capital as tense, with the situation complicated by rumors. There was no mention of the several deaths and scores of injuries that have been reported in the past week. The pictures of another Soviet military crackdown are hardly the image Mikhail Gorbachev once projected during his efforts to restructure the Soviet system. But tonight, Mikhail Gorbachev said it is precisely his perestroika reform movement that had allowed the Azerbaijanis and the Armenians to give expression to their old dispute. It was, he said, a problem that could be solved only by cooperation, and Gorbachev invited leaders on both sides to Moscow for a conference. With communications difficult at best and foreign journalists banned from both Azerbaijan and Armenia, reporters have been reduced to meeting air travelers from the area, most of whom have been reluctant to talk. There is a limit to glasnost. Jerry King, ABC News, Moscow.
For the second time this week, Israeli warplanes attacked Palestinian positions near the Lebanese city of Sidon. Police say 5 people were killed and 15 wounded. The Israeli army says the raid destroyed a large ammunition depot. The Chicago Tribune is reporting today that last week's crash of an Air Force B-1B bomber in South Dakota may have been caused by an ice buildup on the plane's wings. Unlike most commercial jets, B-1 bombers do not have de-icers for their wings. Air Force officials tell ABC's Bob Zelnick that there are no indications at this time that ice buildup was responsible for the crash, but the investigation is continuing. When we come back, the question of infertility is on the American agenda, recognizing that there are limits to what doctors can do.
Time for a quick break and one of my favorite quick snacks, Sunsweet pitted prunes. Surprised? I don't know why. They're good for you and they're delicious. Rounder, plumper, Sunsweet.
Don't make a big fat mistake. Don't cook wholesome food in butter, margarine, or oil. use Pam Cooking Spray instead. You can save 90% of the fat and calories. No mistake about it.
The handsome, dashing Ford Aerostar for $19.89. It's really quite a van about town. Traveling with the sports crowd. Playing the market. Escorting ladies. Pulling its own weight. Staying out all night. And powering its way to the top. Ford Aerostar. It's in a class by itself.
Now get a $500 cash bonus on Ford Aerostar.
The new Canon Sure Shot Ace with remote control puts you in your own pictures where you ought to be.
You ought to be in pictures. You're wonderful to see. You ought to be in pictures. Oh, what a hit you would be. You ought to be in pictures. Your face would be adored. You ought to be in pictures.
The new Canon Sure Shot Ace with remote control. So advanced, you get in on the fun.
And now our American agenda. There are thousands of couples in this country who can't have children. Although there have been medical advances in recent years, many infertile couples will never be able to have children of their own. In their search for medical help, however, these couples may not always be told the truth. They may sometimes be misled as to their chances. And that has caused some people to argue that the government should regulate infertility treatments. It's all very controversial, and one reason infertility is on the American agenda. Here's George Strait.
The birth of a baby, a special moment, but one which almost 20% of couples in this country who want children will never share. For 5 years, Liz and Jerry Jacklin saw specialists, endured debilitating tests, and spent almost $25,000, but still no baby.
We were so determined that we'd do just about anything to have a child, that we were willing to make any commitment we had or go through whatever we had to.
As a last resort, they tried one of the most promising technologies, in vitro fertilization, IVF, where the woman's eggs are surgically removed, fertilized in a test tube, and then placed back in her womb. But that too failed.
You invest a lot of time and a lot of money, and you go to this hospital, and then you come out with nothing.
Despite 10 years of positive publicity, IVF does not work for most couples. A new congressional report reveals only 17% of those who attempt IVF ever get pregnant this way, and only 10% actually bring a baby home. In fact, half of the 200 IVF clinics in this country have never even achieved a single live birth. And why are there so many failures? IVF is still very experimental. Many of the eggs retrieved are never fertilized, and many of the women undergoing this procedure are not able to carry a baby to term. Congressional investigators also charge many of the doctors doing IVF are not only unqualified, but actually mislead their patients. Critics charge many of these clinics see infertile couples as easy prey. Most are never told just how experimental IVF really is. And there's evidence that some clinics even lie about their numbers of successes.
I've seen laboratory numbers that patients never see.
This physician, who requests anonymity, helped pioneer IVF techniques in this country. He has reviewed the actual records of a number of infertility clinics and has found what he calls wildly inflated claims of success.
Have you ever confronted these clinics with the figures that you've seen, figures that they don't tell their patients?
They simply said, let's not play games with numbers. You're not playing games with numbers, you're playing games with people.
There is no way to either verify the claims of IVF clinics or their competence, and there are virtually no controls over who can open an IVF clinic. This raises the question of whether the government should get involved. Oregon Congressman Ron Wyden says yes.
What you have is a total regulatory vacuum where there is no accountability, no rules.
The government has refrained from regulating medical practice, but 3 weeks ago, for the first time, it did establish quality control standards for clinics that perform routine diagnostic tests. Now, in response to complaints about infertility clinics, Congress is investigating them and next year plans to issue a report card on each one. It would be the first step toward more stringent controls. Infertility specialists don't like government controls, but acknowledge something must be done.
There's still a lot of voodoo in what we do.
So the issue again becomes a question of finding some custodian or guardian of the consumer's interest.
Couples don't care who provides protection. They just want to increase their chances of having a baby safely.
But if there was a little more assurances, a little more hope, I think I would risk it again.
But if that kind of frustration turns to widespread anger, it could threaten the entire procedure.
My major fear is that the whole technology will become so distributed and will get such a bad name, and there will be such a loss of public confidence in what we're trying to do and what we can do.
There is a limit to what IVF can do, and unless someone steps in to make sure that claims are realistic and practices are honest, this experimental procedure will never live up to its promise, a baby for those couples who cannot have one without help. George Strait, ABC News, Dallas.
One more note about infertility. The infertility rate in this country has more than tripled since the 1960s. It now affects 3 million couples. Researchers blame the increase on environmental factors like toxic chemicals in tobacco smoke, prolonged use of birth control, and the intentional postponement of a family because more women are concentrating on careers. We'll have more news in a moment.
Looking like you never get any older is no fun. I had a tough time getting a senior's discount on this room.
Call 800-221-2222 to reserve a room with a senior's discount at Quality. Also available at Comfort and Clarion.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Everyone's asleep.
Shh, I know how to wake them up. Come on. Mr. Bob.
Happy holidays from Folgers.
No one knows I just got dentures, and I don't want anything to blow it.
Fixodent and forget it. Fixodent helps fix loose spots for a strong hold that lasts longer than any leading cream. Use Fixodent and forget it.
It's all about safety out here. Testing the features we build in to keep drivers out of trouble. High-speed handling, maneuverability, anti-lock braking means a lot out on the road. After all, somebody's family is going to be driving this car, maybe even mine.
GM cars have been rated best American-built cars by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety for 11 years in a row.
Gas pain, bloating. Gas-X has the strongest, fastest relief ingredient. Painful gas is like beer bubbles. Add the leading antacid. Add Gas-X. Only Gas-X gets rid of the gas. The strongest, fastest reliever for gas pain and bloating. Gas-X.
There seems to be a perception in some areas, particularly in sports, that cheating is an acceptable way to win. In college basketball, for example, several schools are in trouble for illegal recruiting practices and academic violations. But look at the current #1 ranked team, Duke University, which has reached that position, as the ad says, the old-fashioned way. They earned it. Here's Dick Schaap.
Talk to each other right away. No turnovers.
He is a college basketball coach.
Right there, good, good. Make him backdoor. Make him backdoor.
One part teacher.
Good.
Several parts persuader.
That's it.
He has to persuade high school stars to come to his college.
We tell them, first of all, that we think it's the best combination of high academics and basketball in the United States.
Know how many coaches say that? All of them, or almost all of them. But this is one who may actually be telling the truth. The young men Mike Krzyzewski coaches at Duke University are uncommonly articulate and intelligent athletes. So smart, they can even spell his name.
K-R-Z-Y-Z-E-W-S-K-I.
K-R-Z-Y-Z-E-W-S-K-I, I think.
K-R-Y-Z, after that I'm not, K-R-Z-Y, I'm not really sure, just Coach K.
Nice defense by Snyder.
Duke's Blue Devils can spell and run and jump and shoot so skillfully they are the top-ranked college team in the country. favored to bring the national championship to their handsome campus in Durham, North Carolina, to a university ranked academically among the top dozen in the nation, and to a mildly crazed student body that stands through every minute of every home game.
There's sort of a genuine affection from the kids in the stands for the kids on the court, because these are their friends. These are the guys they go to class with.
Even 7-foot-tall basketball players fit comfortably into the Duke student body, not taking the SNAP courses so many schools recommend to athletes, but taking courses just as tough as the ones shorter students take.
I'm a mechanical engineer and a computer science double major.
Political science, my major. I'm going to be majoring in sociology.
We expect them to graduate on time in 4 years.
And they do, almost every one of them, living, leaping proof that in these days of multi-million-dollar college sports, universities do not have to cheat to succeed. Do not have to cheat to attract blue-chip prospects like Bobby Hurley, who's a high school All-American. Hurley can pass, off the court, too. He's second in his class at St. Anthony's High School in Jersey City. Guess where he's going to school next year? Dick Schaap, ABC News.
From the Guess Where You Are department, travelers who fly on British Airways this month will find an article in the airline's in-flight magazine extolling the virtues of Atlanta, Georgia. Its climate is kindly, says the article. It's temperate and attractive. The only problem is the photo which accompanies the article is not that of Atlanta. That's the skyline of Houston, Texas. The airline says it has no idea how the mix-up occurred. When we come back, our Person of the Week.
Ask every American the meaning of success, and you won't hear the same answer twice. Whatever your idea of succeeding, Citicorp and Citibank can help. With Citibank MasterCard and Visa cards, Citicorp Savings, Diners Club, and Citicorp Mortgage. We also serve millions of customers in every major marketplace worldwide. Citicorp, because Americans want to succeed, not just survive.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Trained technical support folks are watching every one of the long-distance switches in the country. There's no slack. There's no time when they're saying, well, I guess I won't get long-distance service today, or the days when they say, oh, I guess this service, long-distance data service is not going to work, or I guess I can't have the computer in L.A. talk to the computer in New York tonight because AT&T's having a bad day. Downtime is not acceptable. You can't have bad days. You just can't do that in this company.
Before you tackle a mountain the size of Everest, you've already made your most critical decisions. What to bring with you.
When 1,000 doctors were asked if they were stranded in a place like this, which one of these medicines would they want along? Doctors chose Bayer, more than all these combined.
I chose Bayer. Shouldn't you?
Bayer, the wonder drug that works wonders. Also in coated caplets.
Critics call him Dr. Death. His expert testimony helped send over 100 to death row. Plus, a sexy superstar tragically paralyzed in his prime. Teddy Pendergrass bears his soul to Barbara Walters on 2020 tonight.
And finally tonight, our Person of the Week. It's been our custom at this time of the year to focus on people who offer a helping hand to others. At holiday time, handouts of food and shelter are welcomed by those in need. But what about the rest of the year? Well, we found someone who offers some of those on society's bottom rung, more than the trimmings of Thanksgiving or a warm bed for the night.
Our people, the residents of Delancey Street, are the people everyone thinks of as losers, and indeed they have thought of themselves as losers. Our average resident has been in and out of jail 4 times, has been addicted to drugs for an average of 10 years. They are formally unskilled, unemployable, illiterate, angry, antisocial people.
Not anymore. For most of the residents of Mimi Silbert's Delancey Street Foundation, there's work to be done.
We have almost 200 people so far that have been trained in the building trades, and they are building their own home.
Actually, it's much more than a home. The Embarcadero Triangle Complex will stand in the shadow of San Francisco's Bay Bridge. Delancey Street's residents will live and attend classes there, There'll be a theater, nightclub, and restaurant, which these losers that Mimi talked about will run.
The guy with the most experience here is a guy who once poured a cement handball court at San Quentin. It is really phenomenal. I mean, it's something that will be here forever. And it says, you know, we're winners, that when we do it right and we work hard and we care, that we can really do it all.
Mimi Silbert was born in Boston of immigrant parents 46 years ago. After a degree in psychology and a PhD in criminology, she opened the first Delancey Street residence in 1971 in San Francisco to try to give ex-convicts and drug addicts a second chance at life. She chose the name because Delancey Street in New York is a symbol, she says, of where immigrants at the turn of the century were greatly disadvantaged, but had a spirit of struggle. Today, there are 5 centers around the country offering food and shelter and vocational training for anyone in need. Funding comes from contributions and hard work, and that's the difference.
Did you get better yet?
You've seen the reports all this holiday week of people around the nation who make the effort to give the needy a decent meal and a bit of cheer. Wonderful work. But at Delancey Street, these people have bought and prepared Thanksgiving dinner themselves in the restaurant, which they themselves run. Some have learned to make furniture, and others have begun a furniture moving business.
Delancey Street provides a lot of structure. It teaches people responsibility and discipline. And then it provides real opportunity to kind of reach way above your heights, to really dream.
These men never dreamed that they'd be building this residence with their own hands.
Until I was 25, when I came to Delancey Street, I'd been in prison once and was on the way back.
I don't know, you get a chance to actually believe that you could do something different other than running the streets and, you know, jail and dope and all that.
This $30 million project is the product of donations and of faith and a $10 million bank loan. How did that come about?
Not easily, I want to tell you. We talked to several banks, and finally the Bank of America really just believed in what we are doing.
Based upon our assessment and good feeling of Mimi and her character, it was easier to make a loan than not to.
There is no paid staff at Delancey. Mimi works as a consultant in criminology when she's not building a building or a dream.
Hopelessness and despair are the 2 things that I think are the most serious problems. To teach people hope, to really believe, to fight and to dream once again is probably the hardest thing we do, and it's what we fight for 24 hours a day.
And so we choose Mimi Silbert. Her philosophy is simple: help people to help themselves. And it's been a rewarding partnership for her. That's our report on World News Tonight. Peter Jennings will be back on Monday. I'm Sam Donaldson. Have a good weekend and good night.
And now, the news continues on WKRN Channel 2 in Nashville with Cindy Benson, Bob Mueller, and Davis Nolan's weather.
Good evening, everyone. In our news tonight, cute, cuddly, and potentially dangerous. More than a dozen exotic animals are spending the week at 100 Oaks Mall, having some close encounters with 2-legged customers. As Channel 2's Jim Melchiori reports, some of those encounters violated state law.
This guy is usually the big attraction at a shopping mall the day after Thanksgiving. But today at 100 Oaks, Santa Claus had some competition.
Our daughter was down yesterday for Thanksgiving dinner, and she told us about them, so we came up to have our pictures made. We are animal lovers.
Endangered Species Incorporated of Florida comes here each year to give customers a chance to get their pictures made with an exotic cat at a cost of $5, $7, or $11 per photo. The company has a permit to operate in Tennessee under the 1986